Okay, so I am joined here by lovely Tressa from Goddess Inspire, and she got in touch with me early this year and made a connection, and we've hung out a little bit. She's sort of explored my galactic potential, and I know that she does that for lots of other people. And if you check out her channel, you'll find a lot of, an absolute wealth of knowledge. And that's why I've invited her today, because we've got the Galactic Centre and also Neptune that have been in a square. They went into a square earlier this year on the 12th of March. Now they are still in a square, but not an exact square. But we do know that they're going to have two more exact squares. And so I've invited Tressa on to talk to me about what the Galactic Centre is, to talk about the potentials of this particular placement with the square to Neptune, and to just maybe explore a further view of it and just to see what comes up, because we're both massive dreamers and idealists, and we tune into our guides and stuff. And so I'm very excited to see where this goes. So that was a long introduction. Tressa, how are you?
I'm good, Louisa. Thanks for having me on here. I have followed your work because I just find you very humble, and the way you deliver it, it's just, when you kind of connect to somebody on YouTube, you just think, okay, they're interesting. And ever since then, now I've been a fan of your work.
Oh, bless you.
So I have, but yeah, your chart was actually very interesting with the cosmic points. You have so many, but the Galactic Center was the one that jumped out to me the most. So, and I had this nudge as well. Something was nudging me when I was listening to your video, and it said, you need to contact her. And it never has that ever happened to me before, never. But I know the universe and how it works. You have to follow the breadcrumbs. Yeah. So then I just, out of the blue, contacted you, read your report, and now I know why. Now I know why. The big mission that you have and all the connections that you have to these fixed stars and these galactic points is just so powerful, and what you're here to do. I know it's genuine. It comes from a humble place. So I always kind of want to work with people who are here to a service to others. So yeah, it's interesting how the universe kind of connects people together, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for that. I mean, I still get a little sort of embarrassed, actually. But the funny thing is, I have always felt like I'm on a bit of a cosmic mission. And, years ago, I learned about the Galactic Centre and then noticed that it's like right over my sun. So I've been aware of it. And funnily enough, I've been having conversations with Linda Hill, who looks at Sabian symbols. And, the Sabian symbols, there's 360 degrees, and when I read the Sabian symbol for my sun and the Galactic Centre where it is right now, I was like, wow, that totally resonates. So, there are patterns within patterns, loads of different disciplines with astrology. And I think when they come together, they are magnificent. I want to find out, what was it that got you into looking at galactic astrology? How did that happen? How was it called to you in the first place?
Well, I've always been, my North Node is actually in the ninth house. So you can imagine and that's actually how I found you, is I just typed in North Node in the ninth house.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You come up on a podcast. Yeah. And everything you said was exactly true. Always constantly searching and traveling to other places, and searching for the higher meaning about why we're here. Like, why are we here? And so I've always done so many courses, and I've always been into astrology anyway, so it's kind of self-taught as well. I've read so many books, and then I just started delving deep into kind of the galactic astrology, did a course on that, and then I came, who actually inspired me the most is actually Philip Sedgwick. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
He's an astrologer. He's the one who's pioneered this whole, the cosmic points, the Galactic Centre, the Super Galactic Centre, the Shapley Attractor, and the Great Attractor. He's done so much research on it. So from all of his research, he's absolutely inspired me. And I've looked at my own chart, my family's chart, and everything just makes sense. Yeah. I mean, yourself with astrology, it just, when you're looking at your chart, your Chiron and your Lilith, and you're thinking, okay, that's why the triggers are happening, it just gives you that kind of, it's almost like psychology, but a kind of an innovative way of doing it, and delving deep into why people behave the way they do. Yeah. I've always been interested in psychology. So yeah. So it's the breadcrumbs has led me to it, and I'm sure there's going to be something else after this.
Yeah. I love what you said there, that it all suddenly made sense, because that's how I feel about astrology. And when something makes sense, I think it's easy to take practical action. It's easy for us to, when something makes sense, we know what the next step is to take.
Neptune, I find it's like higher mind wisdom comes through, and people are kind of tapping into kind of like spirituality. Like Neptune has been in is this Pisces?
For ages.
Yeah, so it's like this for 2012, wasn't it? So it's been this massive spiritual awakening. So and then obviously it's going to move then shortly. It's like the last degree. I mentioned it there in the slides. What happens on that last degree? Have you learned your lesson? And also as well when it's coming into kind of the square then to the Galactic Centre. The Galactic Centre is like, it's invisible. It's this magnetic pull that works on us, and we don't see it, but it's powerful. It's a powerful force. So it's squaring this galactic, or the Galactic Centre is squaring this Neptune. So it's a powerful, and it's that that confusion that people have as well, thinking, what are my beliefs? Is this really true? So that's what's going through people's minds at the moment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
With everything, their beliefs.
We can definitely see that playing out in terms of what's going on politically right now, because people seem very connected to their views. Like really, like I don't know many people that don't have a view, put it that way, and not just about politics, but about health, about money, about all sorts of different things. People are very polarized. So yeah, I like what you're saying about the higher belief systems and the way our sort of creative mind is working. I love that you've used that in terms of Neptune. So tell us about the sort of magnetic pull of the Galactic Centre. Do you want me to bring your slides up? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, we'll bring the slides up because a lot of people are visual, so same as myself, it's nice to see.
Let's bring those up right now.
Okay.
So your website is goddessinspire.com, just in case anyone wants to check it out. So this is about the Galactic Centre. So do you want to, if I move us around, do you want to just tell us a little bit about it and tell me where you want me to move?
Okay, that's okay. That photo that you can see in the background is actually from the James Webb telescope. So anybody who wants to get a good, understanding of it, just head over to James Webb, and they actually managed to penetrate the dust, with the infrared cameras to get a good glimpse of all the stars around the Galactic Centre. Wow. They're only finding out about it now. I mean, I know Philip Sedgwick has done a lot of research on it, but the astronomers are only they're still researching it. It's a supermassive black hole. It is located in the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It does, as I was talking about earlier, emits this powerful plasma that bathes the Earth. And what that does, it stimulates our subconscious, nudging us to release old wounds. So a friend of mine who works with clients was telling me what people are just getting very triggered at the moment. People are just walking around thinking, what's happening? There must be something in the cosmos. It's everything is coming up to the surface. It's stimulating us, nudging us, release those old trauma from this life and past lives. It's time now. It's time. It's coming up, and I know it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But once it's released, then this higher consciousness can come back in. We can start taking on our new earth roles and why we're here, like the big picture, why we're here. So, and anybody, even if you do have the Galactic Centre conjunct in your chart, it's more prominent from someone like you, but anybody else can connect to it as well. And it doesn't have to be the transition in December. It can be any time at all. So, that's one of the cosmic points of the Galactic Centre. You can go to the next slide now. I'll tell you about
I love what you were saying about releasing old wounds, and the fact that when you've released the old wounds, then the higher consciousness can come in. Is that something you see you have to do, like one to be able to do the other? And if you are holding on to the wounds, the new stuff can't come in. Is that how you?
Yeah, 100%. And that is so important to know that, because what Neptune and Pisces, we were in a very victim consciousness. The whole of humanity has been really, and it's not an empowering place to come from. You can't kind of create positively from this victim consciousness. So whatever trauma you're holding, I would say, work on that and get help with that. So that you'd always see the people who have worked on it and are still healing, and then you always see the others who maybe perhaps projection out into the world, and it doesn't serve them and it doesn't serve others. So you pull back your power again, go back, take time off and work on it, and then you'll be ready when the transit happens. You'll be able to download all this amazing information, but everything is coming up to be released. I was talking about like the tech industry here in Ireland. That's kind of everyone thought it was, you know, solid. You have your really high powered tech job, you're working from home, it's brilliant. But then these people are working from home, they're not going out engaging with the world, and now their job is in, you know, hanging on like a piece of string, and they're thinking, is it that's one thing that I had before that was my security, now not probably isn't going to be my security, so I need to go back out into the world and, you know, probably find a job where I'm working with people. So they start engaging with people, and that's when all the triggers come up, because you have to get out of the house and participate. And then when these triggers come up, it's okay, it's actually just, everybody has it, we're all human, and it's just, okay, why is that coming up? And then when you release it, or if you don't release it, I find that another situation will come up with different people or a circumstance, and it's the universe saying, okay, now is the time are you ready to release it now?
Yeah.
Are you ready to release it? If you don't, another time it's going to come up.
It's funny what you were talking about in terms of needing to connect with other people to be able to really work on your wounds, because I have to say, since I met my husband, never in my life have I ever worked so hard. And having children as well, there's nothing like, you know, your chosen family around you, or maybe not even your chosen family around you, to bring up stuff. You know, they are continuously showing you where you're unconscious. Yes, sorry, thank you for that explanation. So you want me to move on? So the Galactic
Centre, that's true,
helping us nudge forwards, you'd say.
Yeah, to release these old wounds. It's here to help us. This plasma we're co-creating with it, it's here to help us kind of release, like these particles are just coming in to kind of release. We can't go forward with all this trauma in us. Like when we move forward from October, November onwards, we can't bring it with us. We just can't. We have to work on it right now. That's why healing is very important at the moment. Otherwise, as I was saying, you project it out to the world and you come from victim consciousness, which doesn't help you. You want to come from an empowered place.
Yeah, and something that you did mention a few minutes ago, there was an element of history, you know, like it might not necessarily be your wounds that you're conscious of right now that are coming up, but you're feeling something that maybe is from a past life or earlier in your, there was some mention of it. And I really like the idea of the history, because I don't know, there's also, I always think that we live in these timelines, you know, that we have this connection, this thread to where we've been, but also to our generational threads, you know, our family, our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents and stuff. And so I really feel like, you know, it's up to us to take a stand and say, right, no more, this ends here.
Yeah, the chosen one. The chosen one, definitely. Because when you heal yourself, then you're obviously healing your ancestral lineage as well. So, and helping your kids as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're paying it forward that way, aren't you? So,
yeah.
Right. So next slide then, what would you like to share?
Yeah, so I'll tell you now, it's I still have the photograph of the Galactic Centre. You got the next slide up there?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay, perfect. It's just lagged. Okay, so just for anyone who, you've probably heard of the Galactic Centre, but if you actually want to go into your own chart, check and see where 27, it's actually 27, 11 degrees of Sagittarius, but check and see your own chart. Where does 27 degrees of Sagittarius lie in your chart? Is it, check the house and the sign, and that's how this higher consciousness is coming through the strongest for you in this life area. As you know as well, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is all about expansion and wisdom. So that's the most important thing, is look and see where 27 degrees of Sagittarius is in your chart. In yours, Louisa, it's in your sun, and obviously your Mercury as well. Yeah. So it's coming through very powerfully for you. And actually, speaking about that, people who have it conjunct in their sun, that I know of anyway, are really highly spiritual people, but they feel like they're tuned in, tapped on all the time, like wired to the mains. you know, some can say that it's a tough place to be as well, because you're constantly wired, like you're getting all these downloads and everything through where, so it's
Yeah. It's interesting that you were talking about other people, like in the last slide, and how other people help to facilitate transformation and stuff. Because, you know, apart from when I'm on my own, and doing something, you know, where I'm just being sort of like practical and daydreaming, and then all of a sudden something comes in. But most of my insight actually comes in when somebody is chatting to me and they ask me a question, and then all of a sudden, it's not me that's doing it, but all of a sudden this answer just comes straight in. And it's like, oh, shut up.
that's amazing.
Like, it's always going on. It's always listening. There's always something listening. It's like life or the universe is listening through my body and kind of putting the answer. Sorry.
Isn't that amazing? And no, that's actually very true. So it isn't, as Philip Sedgwick said, all those insights that you're receiving, even if it's through talking to other people, document them, because you're way ahead of your time. So make sure you document them, because 6 months to a year is when you're making this quantum leap. So it's important to kind of document it. So yeah, it's good. Continue to talk to people, because that's where you get your insights. So yeah, that's what I would tell people anyways, to go in and check their, where does 27 degrees of Sagittarius lie? This is the life area where divinely inspired insights is the strongest, and make sure you document it.
Maybe you and I could do a playlist of the Galactic Centre through the houses, so that whichever, because you know I've done that for the North Node, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, and
that's a great idea actually.
But we could do the Galactic Centre together through the houses as a little guide for people, if you'd like to do that with me.
Yeah, because that would be very relevant and very helpful for them as well, to find out how it's playing out in your life, really.
Yeah, like how is, you know, divinely inspired beingness being expressed in your birth chart?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I actually give an example in the slides here.
Okay. So move on.
Move on.
I do like to chat, sorry. So, oops. I'll move you around so that, you know, whatever you need to see, you can see. I'm moving us around the screen right now. I don't know if you can see this. I think we've got a bit of a lag, haven't we, between us?
Oh, yes, we do have a small lag. It's probably me, actually. This is an example client reading. I have so many I need to do videos on, but I just didn't have the time. This lady is of higher consciousness. She has her Neptune conjunct the Galactic Centre. She's a very ancient and wise soul. This is how you'd interpret somebody who has the Neptune. The wider collective. So she has people with this kind of prominent in their chart displacement, they kind of have an impact on the wider collective. So she was telling me, actually, which is amazing, that in her meditation she had this kind of vision that she was up on stage giving this talk to a huge crowd of people. So she's already getting these visions, and it's in her first house, so she really does embody this kind of like higher divine wisdom. So she could tap into the higher guidance from a very early age. And she was telling me about her early childhood and all the downloads she was getting, and people weren't, you know, it was just her. I mean, it was, again, it's a tough place to be when you're young and you don't understand it, but she was getting this from a very young age. She does receive downloads easily and is ahead of her time. Again, this is with the Galactic Centre influence. And the Galactic Centre is also conjunct her North Node. So it's helping her to clear collective karma around the human connection to source. And what was amazing is she actually has a business, and her business name is Quantum. One of the names in her business is Quantum. And one of the Galactic Centre, what it does is it gives you quantum leaps. So it does. So without even knowing it. But she does help people collect them. Her life's work is helping people reconnect to source. It's if they have kind of like their heart wall is closed off, she kind of like gets rid of, like, helps them get rid of like the trauma and the wounds and all that. And just, she said before that it was almost like wired to the main. She's putting them back into the mains again, you know. So she's definitely embodying her Galactic Centre in Neptune and her North Node. So this is just a little example about how it plays out. So it's just amazing. And another thing as well is, I was telling her that she's way ahead of her time, like, and when she's getting these downloads, that she needs to document them. And she was telling me, her sister on her birthday gave her a birthday card, and inside there was a little recorder, and it says a little note saying, "This is for the book that you're going to write." So
Very
she
good.
needs to document it. I was saying, put it into the recorder and just record all these amazing insights.
Wow.
You know?
And I imagine because her Neptune at 27 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius is a generational thing, isn't it? It's not like my son, it was just there on the day I was born, but that would have been there for many people born at the same time. So there's a whole generation of people right now who currently are going through their Neptune square, have also got that, it's obviously square their natal Neptune and Galactic Centre. So I would imagine that these guys are going through massive leap forwards.
Yes, definitely quantum leap forward. But also as well, it's tough as well on them, because she was saying as well that, around the time that it transits, like, November, December, she was thinking, maybe I should just put my clients on hold, because it's a lot of information, a lot of things, a lot of upgrades for this person. So now, from now until then, she's working on herself, obviously. So it is a lot to take in when you do have this. It's a great placement to have because the quantum leaps, but it's a lot on the person as well.
No, I mean, that sort of explains why, just coming up to the winter solstice, like obviously we're in the northern hemisphere, I find it really, really difficult because it's around the time, my birthday is a couple of days before the northern hemisphere. So the northern, God, my head's fried today. I'm a bit tired. The winter solstice, in the northern hemisphere. So that solstice in December is absolutely around the time of the Galactic Centre, isn't it? It's just a couple of days before.
Yeah, it is. And do you feel it yourself?
Oh yeah, I go into a massive funk. I always go into a massive funk about 3 or 4 days before my birthday and 3 after. I've been really quite ungrateful to people at the time of my birthday, because I've said, just leave me alone. I don't want anyone to celebrate me. Clear off. Everyone's like, what's wrong with her? I just need to cut down all the contact. And it might be saying that sort of deeply focused energy is taking its toll.
Yeah, definitely. And now you know what it is. So now you can just clear the diary and just tell people you want alone time, because you're going to have to upgrade yourself.
Yeah.
Oh,
thanks. That's helpful.
Because you're here on a mission. So, and it's a big mission, yourself and this other lady and everyone else that I've, all the other clients that have this Galactic Centre conjunct, very prominent on their charts, do have these big missions, and they're here to have a wider impact on the collective. So you have to look after yourself as well.
Well, I imagine for people that have got it on their ascendant or their midheaven, for instance, must also have quite the ride with it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely, because it's the driving force for them, isn't it? It's kind of pulling them. It's like that invisible pull, and it's like, no, there's no rest for you now. Get up now. Come on.
Right. Let's move on. So this is a really pretty image. I like this. So you're talking about the whole idea of receiving downloads. Funnily enough, I was going to say, how do you know? How do people know when they're having a download?
Yeah, and that's actually in one of the slides as well. It's so here you go. When you start to receive the download insights, this is what Sedgwick said. You'll start to feel a tingle on the top of your head. And this is another reason why all the charts that I've done for people as well, I do their natal and galactic, but I also do the Akashic records, just because it just gives me a lot more insight. And almost every single one of them have to kind of balance out their crown chakra, almost everyone. And when you think about it, the food, the water, the air, everything is just coming at us. So it's important to kind of balance and cleanse your crown chakra so you can receive these amazing downloads. And there's so many ways of doing it, but he does say that it's important to document your insights and ideas where you were shunned 6 months to a year ago. So people were thinking, no, that will never happen, that idea will never happen. So document it and date it, because they'll come back and say, actually, I had that idea, but really you had it written down already. So yeah, way ahead of your time. I
My
mean, for
ideas are
me,
always coming back round. Like they used to be coming around sort of every 18 months or so. Like I have an idea, my husband and I will sit down and we'll plan something. We'll start maybe, we used to do quite a few sort of like law of attraction images and posters and stuff like that. We don't do that so much anymore, but now things do seem to come around again within 6 months quite quickly. It's getting faster and faster.
and the thing, yeah, everything's like speeding up, isn't it? And you'll probably have that download, and your husband will have that download, and then other people at the same time around, like halfway around the world, will have the exact same download as well. So it's whether whoever goes and runs with it.
It's funny. There's lots of times when I've had ideas and known that they're not like that. I know that they're not for me, and then a few months later, I see someone else is doing it, and I'm like, "Oh, good for them."
Yes.
I didn't have the resources to do it. So I do think we're all creating ideas at the same time, simultaneously. There's lots of us doing the same thing in our own unique ways around the world. Without even
100%.
realizing.
Innovators.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And this is what really just gets me going, because I absolutely love doing charts for people like this, the innovators of the world. I mean, when you think about it, we rely too much on electricity. So I'm always saying it'd be great to have like free energy or something. And then I end up doing a chart for somebody who's working in that area. Or for example, I say something like, I'd love to do a reading for somebody who is healing. Like for me, I love like natural healing modalities, and somebody come up with an innovative way of doing it. So I put that out there, and then almost immediately I get a client, a Welsh guy actually, and he approached me and he wanted to get his chart done. And it turns out he had this amazing healing sound technology, and he was working behind the scenes. A lot of these people are working behind the scenes, so they are, which is amazing. You don't hear about them. So yeah, there's lots of innovators, geniuses right now. So there is.
Well, I think actually a lot of us do need to, I think we do need to work behind the scenes, because it's like when big, forgive me for sounding as if I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but one of my observations about some of the best healing modalities I've been aware of is the moment they become popular, some kind of news reports are, revealed about them, anything to kind of put people off finding them. There's a very sort of big, well, I mean, my mother had cancer when I was 21, and I remember doing as much research as I could to try and help her. And I was researching all these different diets and different technologies and things like that. And within 6 months or so of me hearing about things and reading about things, I would get some kind of message from somebody who's saying, "Oh no, that's been discredited, that's misinformation." Even like 30 years ago, 25 years ago, there's always this sort of counter energy, almost trying to suppress realizations, and that just makes me really suspicious. I think ideas need to be fostered, in a sort of like open society where people are really sort of excited. But when there's like one overarching energy field or force or something that's kind of suppressing information, we all know it when it happens, because that's when we're feeling judged or put down, or whenever you get that, I always think that whenever you're getting if you feel put down or shut down or turned off, it's because there is the energy of suppression around you. When sorry, this is really off topic. I think when we're around wise people, even if they think your idea might be nuts, they can still see that the energy of wanting to solve something is worth having. So I think anyone that's really interested in health will listen to ideas and be patient, for the energy behind the ideas, because it's the energy. I always just think everything is at an energetic level, and if we get the energy field right around us, everything else will fall into place and flow. So I don't blame a lot of people for working behind the scenes, because I think that's where we can actually have the most impact.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of communities are actually working behind the scenes. I mean, even here where I'm living, like they meet up in different places and things like that. So, but yeah, but I was just thinking there when you were talking about the suppression, I was thinking about Tesla, and then also Rennie Cassay. Have you
Yeah,
ever heard of her?
yeah,
She was a
yeah,
nurse,
yeah.
a Canadian nurse. You've obviously researched that as well. So yeah, a lot of these were suppressed. So they were, but now people are a lot more open-minded because we know that there was a lot of control. You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of control, but
Yes.
yeah, we're pushing through that right now. So we are, and we're not listening to them anymore. We're just gonna go with our gut instinct.
And I love what you were saying about how, you know, you have this thought, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to know about this, and then the right client comes in. I have exactly the
Yeah.
same, and I think anyone that's working in a healing modality or in any sort of creative field, in fact, who gets the chance to engage with people and works in such a way that people know how to find them and connect with them, I think you can have some real synchronicities occurring. It's a real gift, I think, to be able to let life come to you and see what life is showing
Yes.
you. I sound like massive.
Yes, and I love it. No, I absolutely love it. I mean, these are the laws of the universe, the spiritual laws that I wish we knew when we were in school, like in primary school. It'd be amazing. Well, we can teach our kids this now, but you know, obviously we know it now. But yeah, you can just, for me anyway, I find that I can manifest things very, very quickly. So I can. So recently I was asking, you know, my guides, I said, okay, I'd like people who are service to others, who are solution orientated. And then I get people who are like that. For instance, I had a French lady who's a teacher in South America, but she wants to change the whole education system. So she was very focused on kids. She loves kids. And I just thought, this is great. I just want these type of people. But I really do love healing modalities as well, innovation. I have a lot of queries in my chart. So I love that, you know, type of work. But yeah, it's interesting when people, like-minded people come together and the universe brings us together. When we put that thought out there and follow the breadcrumbs, we have to follow the breadcrumbs.
Oh, I love it. Oh, yeah. So the word that really got me there on this slide was any ideas that were shunned. Because when I think back to my early childhood, it was like, you know, whatever I spoke about would be like, what are you on about? You know, whether it's school, I just that shunned really feels like a strong word for me. It has got some triggering for sure. Right, let's have a move on. Have you finished on this slide? Are you wanting me to move?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And this is a beautiful image. Very, very sort of Neptune and Pisces. I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and the two of us were kind of night owls, obviously working very late. Neptune in Pisces, yeah, and it's at the final degree, and you probably can't see it with our heads there, but the question is, did you learn your lesson? That's the question with the final degrees. Yeah, so the positive is we are spiritual beings, so we are spiritual beings having this human experience. The shadow side is confusion, disillusionment. Everything you thought that was true ends up not being true, whether it's traditions, belief systems, you're questioning it. So the solution is always to use your intuition and ask for guidance. And again, follow the breadcrumbs and spiritual practice. For me, it would be nature and doing a cleanse. I just did some cleanse there, juices for us, and my little lads love it as well. But yeah, that's the final degrees of Neptune Pisces. What do you think? Did you learn your lesson?
I think I'm always learning lessons. I'm very open to learning, and I'm very open to making mistakes. I used to be very, very nervous about making mistakes and get really upset and take it really personally. But I actually quite like finding out how not to do things, because I find that when I do it that way, things speed up quite quickly. So I'm always learning and reflecting on things, and I'm really lucky that I've got good coaches around me. I'm surrounded by coaches. I know so many coaches, so that, you know, if they see me floundering, or if they see me questioning something, they'll always ask me just the right thing to help me find a lesson in things. So I've been finding this quite interesting, because obviously Neptune has been in a square to my sun for quite some time. And so, and it's also in a square to my Mercury. And even though it's quite a stressful position, you know, to have that square going on, if anything, I've learned more about who I am and my identity than I've ever known. And it really came about by asking myself, who am I? You know, I realized that I'd kind of boxed myself into a certain way of being and just needed to, it's not like I've really done anything. I've just allowed myself to be. And in that, I've kind of found who I am. It's hard to explain because I think Neptune is really hard to explain the energy of. And I should say, Neptune is in my tightest connection in my whole chart. I've got my Neptune is just a few minutes away from my North Node. They are really, really tight. And then my Sun and Mercury in my chart on the Galactic Centre, they're also in a really, really tight conjunction. I've got Mercury Cazimi, so I've got these two really tight conjunctions in Sagittarius. So yeah, the Neptune thing is quite difficult for me. But I've definitely been learning. One thing that I've really thought about, you know, especially with Neptune going through Pisces for such a long time, is it's coincided, I think, with the rise of social media. You know, like at the start, I remember, like, you know, when I first got a Facebook account, and, you know, I think I'd been on Friends Reunited and things like that. There were lots of these sort of technologies coming up when Neptune was in the sign of Aquarius. But when it went into Pisces in particular, it got, I don't know, there was such an openness, but also quite a sinister, you know, it was also quite sinister that you didn't exactly know who you were talking to. So it felt like you could be really open, that you're in this place of safety, and yet you never really knew what was underneath it. And of course, during the time that Neptune's been in Pisces, things like misinformation, disinformation have come up to become a real phenomenon that people just accept is real. It happens. And you know, during that time, I've been aware of learning about things that I had as facts in my life, things that I never questioned, that I either had a sort of brainwave and realized that there was this glaring error about something that I'd held as a truth, or something would come into my life and into my world and demonstrate to me that I was holding on to a truth that wasn't true. And so I really think that the idea of truth movements, but also conspiracy theories, all of that sort of terminology has really come into into our sort of consciousness right now. So it's interesting that we're at the final degree, and you're asking, have we learnt our lesson? Have I learnt my lessons? I just think I'm still learning them. And I think I'm open to learning now in such a way that when stuff happens, I don't take it so personally. I just go, oh, that's interesting. And sometimes I might need to lie down before it all falls into place. But I think we are at this learning. And I think of stories as well. You know, the zodiac, I see that 0 Aries is like the start of a new story. And really, Neptune in Pisces at the 29th degree of Pisces, I think the 29th degree of Pisces is about dissolving all of the stories, like letting go. I think of it as the death. You know, we are dying to ourselves so we can be reborn. So
yes,
I really think we are having to let go of our stories. And I think,
yes.
I think
My
the
God,
more we
yes.
let go of them, the more we can be reborn. But the more we hold on to them, the more we die. That's my sense. I was watching something yesterday where somebody said, where you allow your talents to come forwards, where you bring forward your talents, like your truth, you rise up. Where you try and hold back your talents and your truth, you die to yourself. And I was thinking, wow, there's some truth in that. So maybe people are tapping in now to their truth, but the truth of who they are and why they're here.
But yeah, I think you're right about that. Someone like you now with your Neptune and everything, you know, it's coming to the end and you're asking all these questions. You're the perfect person to give the answer to for this. When you were talking about mistakes, you know, the way a lot of people are perfectionists, and that's how we're brought, like, don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes. But do you remember the last time I was telling you about that quote from James Joyce? It was, mistakes are the portals of discovery.
Yes,
So
and I said I was going to write that
are,
down and I didn't. I forgot it. Say that again, Tressa. So it's James.
So it's mistakes. James Joyce, yeah, he's an Irish writer. And he says, mistakes are the portals of discovery.
Yeah. They are, aren't they?
They are. And that's what I tell my lads as well, that it's okay, you've made a mistake. How else are you going to learn? You know, and I have to remind myself that. And I've taken this quote, it's on my fridge, and I've moved house, and I keep on bringing it with me. I have to remind myself this. As the same like you, I don't like making mistakes, but how are we going to learn? You know, you have to make mistakes. You have to.
Well, we have to model that, don't we, for our little ones?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. But you were right when you were saying about dying to your, you know, the final degrees and then going to the zero. Getting rid of all the old stories. Yeah, I 100% resonate with all that what you said. Definitely.
So
And I think that for me personally,
I was about to say, have you learned your lesson?
Yes, that's the thing. I know a lot of people are gonna, you know, people have these belief systems and they're thinking, oh God, is that true? Like everything I learned, all my truths, is that really true? For me, because I've always been on a search for the truth about why we're here. So I've always done courses, looked to the external, looked to books, looked to people. And yes, I can gain like lots of wisdom from these people as well. And I love it. But I was always putting my truth on the external and never going within, and always thinking they know more than me. But then I started going in, and I'm thinking the answers were always here the whole time, whole time. So that was the big learning curve for me.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, really, if you check in with any other people, you know, it's to get a clue, but you have to always take the final step to integrate that learning and to reflect on it. And I think what you've just described there, Tressa, is really real. Lots of people go to an expert and think that the expert is going, and not trying to do either you or I out of business, by the way, but you know, like people go, someone who they perceive to be as an expert or somebody that they can get help from. And you know, we've been living through times where we expect people to do things for us, but we always have to make that last step ourselves. You know, we have to. That's how we learn it.
And yeah, and the intuition, like we were saying on our last call before about you know, a guy in the Himalayas who is meditating. That's for him. It's not for us. You know, the downloads and everything he's receiving, but it's your own intuition is going to guide you. And we have so much help. We have so much help. So we do invisible help. We obviously can't see, but it's our intuition will guide us. Just asking the question, like, what's my next step?
Yeah.
What's my next step?
Yes. Yeah. And I remember, you know, earlier in my sort of life, thinking that I needed to do things in a spiritual way to have a spiritual expression, and not to remove anything from the man studying in the cave. You know, I interviewed somebody actually that's spent a long time in a cave, and he had a fascinating story, and wrote a book.
Wow.
And he's an amazing guy. But I know full well that's not my way to it, though it works for lots of people. For me, just being a mum and being myself is how I've learned pretty much everything. It all comes to you. You don't have to go looking for it.
Oh, that is so true.
I really don't have to go looking for learning, because I almost trip over it every single day, you know, as I find myself sort of bumping into things. And yeah, there's always something out there. So yeah, we are spiritual beings, definitely is a positive of Neptune in Pisces. And I think, again, if you think of like social media, it has connected us all almost in a state of oneness in many respects. But it's also a false state of oneness, you know, where we might have been deceived. You know, our intention might be to be sort of connected, but that there, you know, it all is not what it seems with Neptune. And definitely in Pisces, you know, where there's no boundaries whatsoever. A lot of people do get depressed, I've noticed, you know, with a strong sort of Neptune or a strong Pisces thing going on in their chart. Disillusionment, because I also think Neptune is also really idealistic as well, you know, these high ideals that we have of how things should be. So I love what you've put here as your solution: use your intuition and follow the breadcrumbs. What was your first book that really changed your world?
It was Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. And that only happens when, you know, when you have these spiritual awakenings. I was telling you before, my mother passed away in 2012, and I was asking the questions, where did she go and why are we here? There has to be something more. So I was led onto the book almost straight away, Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton, and he regressed all of his clients, and it's amazing. It was just a transcript of him talking to them, their higher selves, and they went into a life between lives and the reason why they're here. Like both of us chose to be born female. You were chose to be born in England. I was chose to be born in Ireland. We chose the spiritual path to be mothers. It's just this, there's a big plan behind it, and I just thought, okay, that gives me so much relief, and to know where they go afterwards, it gives me so much relief, so much relief. So it does.
Wow,
it's an amazing book.
Wow, I'd never heard of that before.
What about?
But for me, and I'm sure lots of people know this book, the Celestine Prophecies was one of those books I read.
Oh yes.
And it blew my mind. And the thing I really got from the Celestine Prophecies was following the breadcrumbs, following like the natural flow of energy, and like just following the clues. Like it really sort of brought out my inner detective, you know, to follow one step to another, which I love. It's funny, there's always a book that captures the imagination, isn't there? Right, next.
Yeah.
So Neptune squared the Galactic Centre then. So you've written here it lasts until early 2025. So what would you like to share with us about that then?
Okay, so this is the thing is people are going to be asking what has been revealed and what has been covered up, because as we know, a lot of things have been revealed, but a lot of people are going through a stage where they're hanging on to the truth, you know, because if they but then when the truth is going to actually start coming up, so it is, we can't continue with everything hidden, so it's going to start to be revealed and covered up, and it is going to probably send some people into a bit of a panic or a bit of a shock. And that's why people have to step in and say, look, I know it's a bit of a shock. We've all been there. We've all been through that spiritual awakening. Belief systems is going to come up. Most people will question their beliefs, their traditions, what they grew up with. It's actually interesting because just a couple of days ago, here in the west of Ireland, there was a bishop and there was a documentary about him, and like everything's coming up to the surface. Everything.
Oh, was
he actually ended up
bad story about him?
Another bad story, yeah. And he ended up like having a wife or something like that, having a kid, but like all other stuff he did. But I was thinking, Jesus, that fella, I think I met my communion or confirmation. He was like the bishop, and my father at the time just had no interest in them. He was like, oh, look at this Egypt or whatever. But yeah, the documentary is come out now. So no respect for them at all, which I can see now why. But yeah, the documentary's come out about him. He's long dead, but I mean, everything has to be brought to the surface. So people are hanging on to the truth of, oh, these were amazing people. You know, we look up to them, but no, they weren't. They've done some bad things as well. So that's where the truth will probably hurt them a little bit if they're really holding on to that. I don't know if you've ever read the Essenes, any books on the Essenes.
No, I haven't, but I've had so many clues.
Have you not?
You've given me clues.
Wow.
People have given me clues. So I haven't yet. And I've put that yet in purposefully. I will do. Go on.
Yes, because when I first started out, I was obsessed with everything about the Essenes, and I said to myself, okay, I actually want to do charts for my Essene family and connect them and bring them all together. And sure enough, they all started coming to me. So they did. You can see a lot in their chart. I can tap into their Akashic records, but one of the fixed stars, which is prominent for the Essenes, is having Fomalhaut conjunct. So I created the spiritual group in Ireland, and a lot of the people there have Essenes connections. But there is a book on the Essenes called, it's actually about two English authors, Children of the Light.
Oh, that's me last time. Children
of the Light.
Okay, yeah. I will look that up.
I found their book to be absolutely amazing, because they went to these places and they felt the energy in these places where the Essenes were, but their teachings were not about kind of like they said there's no need for a temple, there's no need to worship this priest or anything like that. it's the power that we have within us, the divinity and the Christ consciousness. That's what we're spreading. But it was taken away, and the Bible was rewritten and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a very empowering book. Very empowering book. It's called Children of the Light. So yes, belief systems will come up for people. You may be asking, who is telling the truth? Because again, with AI as well, who is telling the truth? But you always come back to your intuition and ask the question, who is actually telling the truth? And your intuition will tell you.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to come up a lot. I think October, November time. Especially November, yeah.
The thing that I is that I can hear in the background.
Oh no, I don't. They're in another room. So they should be. Go on.
Like it's interesting you're talking about the truth, because one of the things that I've almost needed to just let go of is the need to know everything. I realize that we're living in a world where we've almost been terrorized that we all need to know the same information and we need to hold on to it. And if you're not aware of this information, you're somehow, I don't know, not smart enough, not current enough, not whatever. But what I actually realize is some of the most cheerful people, joyful people, most together people are the ones that just know what's in their life right now, what's in front of them, what they can touch, what they can hold, what they can see, what they can feel. And they're not being terrorized by something outside of their lives, so I've been questioning, how much do I actually need to know? How much because for a long time, I was on this quest to get information, and people would say, why are you doing that? And I would say, well, I need to know. If I don't know, we might be vulnerable. And that was something that I really held as a truth. And in recent times, I just realized it was making me unwell. It was making me fearful. It was making me anxious.
Yes.
So for my truth right now is, how can I feel greater ease? How can I feel greater peace? How can I be love more? And I realized that to do that, I need to stay out of other people's truths, which is funny because, I put stuff out and say, ooh, look at that going on with the American election. Oh my God, look at this. But actually, the truth is I'm not that bothered. And not to put a downer for other people, but we've made everything our business, and actually I think it's pulling us away from our peace. It's pulling us away from our sovereignty, because I think when we're not affected by what's going on externally, we can actually tune in and know what is right and know what might be harmful and work most things out for ourselves. I don't know that for sure.
Yes, definitely.
But that's my truth right now.
No, yes, I had that same truth as well, wanted to know everything, because I'm like, the human design investigator, always trying to investigate things. But yes, you're right. And actually the next slide, I actually talk about that, where just be comfortable with the abyss and not knowing. You don't have to know everything. So it's interesting you brought up that.
Which is a real sort of like Neptune, Galactic Centre kind of thing, isn't it? Because like Neptune, you never see it all. Like I always think of the ocean.
Yes.
I love snorkeling and, being in the ocean, but you just don't know what's in there with you. You have no idea. And the air we breathe, just assume it's air. We have no idea what's there. And, we don't know what frequencies, what vibrations are around us. There's lots of invisible forces around us, and we can't possibly know it all. And you mentioned God and the bishop. And, when you were talking about that, my truth that I've always known from word go was God is us, like it's in us. And I remember as a child being told off for even suggesting that, at some kind of guide camp or something like that. It's like, how dare you blaspheme against God? But from my perspective, I think we are all God. And and us being kind of celebrating, putting people on a pedestal, but not seeing the divinity in each and every one of us is, I think, a mistake. But
Yeah, and that's what the Essenes were teaching. They said, like, people were putting Jesus, or they called him Yeshua back then. They put him on a pedestal, and he didn't want that. And the divinity is within each one of us. So they just they took the teachings and they altered it to suit themselves. So divinity is within each and every one of us. How, like, look at all these spiritual laws that we have that we can tap into. I mean, we have all this amazing, like, we're so powerful and we don't even know it because we've been suppressed for so long. But we're such powerful divine beings.
Yeah. Fascinating. Right, let's have a look at the next slide then. Oh, so I don't know if you can see the slide yet, but I'll give you a heads up. So it's saying galactic energies will become more of a focus. We receive more downloads and insights about Earth's journey, and we're on an accelerated spiritual development as we release outdated ideas.
Yes. And actually, when I was searching for the image, I was actually searching for, in the pyramids in Egypt, there was, there was drawings, references, the galactics, and things like that. So, I mean, the ancients had connections with them, and we lost it through, whatever, suppression. The Dead Sea Scrolls, all of that. We were only handed a few pages of that. We weren't given the whole thing. So a lot of it has been suppressed. But we are going to find out about our solar system, about Earth, the earthly realm, like things that we didn't know before. I think that's all going to come out. All going to come out. Lots of disclosure is going to come out. Insights about Earth's journey. And we are going to release these. Again, I was talking about the belief systems, outdated ideas. So a lot of galactic energies is going to be more of a focus with this Neptune square, the Galactic Centre.
It's interesting you're talking about Earth's journey. That sounds like Earth has a consciousness. Is that part of this understanding?
Yes, it is. So it's, I mean, some people call it a construct.
Mm. Oh, I've lost Tressa. So while Tressa's coming back, I wonder what you think in terms of how Earth and Earth's consciousness relates to consciousness, to the solar system, to everything. I'm not entirely sure. Hello, you're back. Can you hear me?
Oh, hello. Yes, sorry. Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Sorry, I don't know why.
Don't worry.
Just went out there.
I was just posing the question that maybe one of the next big steps for humanity would be to understand what Earth is, our own unique understanding of Earth and our relationship to Earth, but also how Earth relates to everything else, like the position within the position within the position, a bit like because I'm sure there's so many different models out there, and I am actually quite comfortable not knowing. I just kind of focus on how I feel on Earth at any time. And I remember when I was about 7 or 8, lying down on the school field, in the breaks and the summer holidays when we could actually lie on the grass. Obviously that didn't happen in winter in England, but I remember I used to lie down on the school field on a sunny day, and I could feel that sense of Earth's heartbeat, like the Schumann resonance.
Wow.
Like our kids, they are in a big soup of different energies around them all the time. There's always cell phone towers and Wi-Fi's. It's really, really difficult to find yourself on a patch of Earth where there's no sort of conflicting vibrational fields or frequencies. But when we were kids, we could lie on the soil and not really feel anything other than the sense of that connection. We get it at the beach because we live right close to the beach, and of course there aren't so many sort of towers and stuff near there, so I think that's one of the sort of closest places, and that might be another reason why people like the beach so much. It's free from a lot of that kind of energy.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's a great place to kind of cleanse and receive your downloads as well. I think the woods is also a great
Yes,
place. Yes, yesterday I brought my kids to the woods, and it's an ancient, especially an ancient woodland, you know. And the minute you step in, you like the smell hits you. It's just amazing. It's fresh. It's beautiful, and it's just I don't know. You just feel instantly calm. Like there's no Wi-Fi. There's no nothing. It's just instant calm, and that's where I actually start putting out there what I want. I'm always asking for
yes.
to receive ancient knowledge or higher wisdom and things like that, or what's my next step, and it just instantly manifests for me. So it does. So yeah, it's the woodland is for me back in nature. I think that's very powerful. If I was where you're living in Portugal, a beautiful hot summer climate, I'd be in the beach all day. But the woods is the woods. I just think it just calms you and grounds you at everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
think you can get a lot of information.
well, I understand what you're talking about woods and forests and things like that, because I think they are the original cell towers, aren't they? You know,
Mm.
years ago I realized that trees and every blade of grass, actually, they're all antennas.
Yes, and it's actually interesting you were talking about the trees there. After we came back from the woods, I brought my boys to the library to pick out a book, and every single book was about trees. It's just, you know, it's almost like the universe saying, "Come on now,
Yeah.
learn about them." There's so much ancient wisdom in there, and I think that a walk through an ancient woods, you can just receive so much. You really can.
Yes. Well, I think they are receiving, but also in by like like grace to their shape, they're also transmitting. You know, I think they are holding all of the records within their structure.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
but that's just my sense. So yes, we are coming into an accelerated spiritual development then, and like you said, it's time to follow your intuition. So if you've got any sort of energy in terms of your birth chart at sort of 27 degrees Gemini, 27 Virgo, 27 Sagittarius, 27 Pisces, these are going to be really sort of hot degrees to experience this. It's fine. I was just talking about the degrees to sort of wrap this up. Just saying, you know, like look in your birth chart and find out where these degrees are. If you've got any angles, your sun, your moon, your north node, anything like that around you could even say sort of like 25 to 29 degrees of the mutable signs. So Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. You'll be feeling this so much. Have you got any final
Yes.
thoughts then, Tressa?
No, I just think that be comfortable in the abyss of not knowing, and then tap into your kind of like your innate wisdom within, and follow the breadcrumbs.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me to chat around the galactic wisdom that you've got, that you bring into your work. Yeah, and thanks for just being you and being so open and wonderful in the way that you are, and for sharing your delightful little son on screen.